first off. But like, if you can smell yourself, that is always like the number one sign of you.
Hope you guys are enjoying that commentary from our channel.
Aaron, are you ready? With the new teams and stuff.
God, so their team is actually called Rulers of Gondor. I did not know that. Alright, so this is week 6 Minor League Tag Pro action now. And it's Rulers of Gondor versus whatever Degrees of Freedom's minor league team is named. Same lineup if you were watching earlier, same lineup for Degrees of Freedom, with the Bob 18 getting some action this half. Beast Mode's gonna get out past 3. Good OD by some Paul, he's actually gonna be out past 3 now too, so Buster will have to be careful, just barely manages to stay alive long enough. The first round of pups comes up. 2 tag pros, each team has 1. Some Paul also has a juke juice to work with. But neither team really used their tag pro effectively. And just about everything's reset now. This is probably a return for cap here for Rollers of Gondor. Catalyst does a good job getting out past everyone. We'll see if this can amount to anything for either team. Doesn't appear like much is gonna happen though. Helps come up. X Factor grabs a Juke Juice Rexer with a Rolling Bomb, and Beast Mode is now gonna have a Rolling Bomb with the flag. Catalyst tries to block out. I think it was some Paul, but wasn't able to do much. Catalyst with a good gate. Ballstar is going to be out past a couple good snipe by some Paul to keep him behind. Luke Moo and Rexer with some good contain there. Beast Mode's tried that boost a few times in the last 20 minutes or so. Hasn't worked out for him yet. And this is going to be a cap by the X Factor, and the Rollers of Gondor take a quick 1-0 lead. Next round of pups coming up. Ballstar grabs a Juke Juice Rexer, has the flag with a Rolling Bomb. Bob 18 does a good job managing the kiss there. We'll see if this can amount to something for Degrees of Freedom. Will they get the return? They will not. Will they get the return? They will. Some good blocks by Ballstar. Good return to tie it back up 1-1. case you guys were worried, Aaron is back. He was gone for a few seconds. Beast does a good job grabbing. Needed to get a good grab there. Needed to stay alive, which he barely does. I'm not sure if Ballstar's block actually helped or not, but next round of pubs coming up, we'll see what happens here. Beast mode unfortunately can't grab the tag pro in his own base. Luke Moo grabs flag pro. And Catalyst looks like he picked up a Jake Juice mid. Didn't see it happen, but 2 tag pros on Rollers of Gondor, but just not going to pay off. And if there's blocks here, which appears there will be, a good spawn by Catalyst, Degrees of Freedom takes a 2-0 or 2-1 lead. I think this is the latest time they've had a lead in their past 70 or 80 minutes of play. Another round of pubs coming up in a few seconds. Ballstar's gonna kiss. No anti 4 Degrees of Freedom, so Beast mode just trying to desperately stay alive. Isn't able to. We'll see who can get this tag pro. Catalyst is gonna grab a tag pro. This is a return for Cap, and Degrees of Freedom takes a 3-1 lead. Other side of the map, Luke Moo did grab a tag pro. We'll see if they can manage to get out. They can. I think this is going to be another cap, so 3 quick caps from Degrees of Freedom gives them a 4-1 lead here over Rollers of Gondor. Pretty equally done so far. Beast Mode and Ballstar both have a cap. Catalyst actually has 2. So some good rotational play, at least from Degrees of Freedom. That's giving him an early lead. Beast Mode, I don't know what he was doing there. Could have been out past 4, but he was more tempted to juke around a couple people. I'm not really sure. We'll pick up a rolling bomb though. Rexer does grab a tag pro. Gets a quick defuse. And the dangerous situation here for Degrees of Freedom. Rexer doing a good job with this tag pro lead. But if Degrees of Freedom can block this boost, which they almost managed, could have been a quick counter cap. We got Fatal in the channel. Let's see, Fatal, you want to commentate with me? Didn't get a response, so I'm gonna go with no. Next round of pubs coming up. Ballstar gets a little help from Luke Moo actually with that bomb. We'll see what this pub battle looks like. Catalyst grabs a tag pro. Rexer picks up a rolling bomb. And he's going to be out. Rolling bomb got defused, but good play by Rexer waiting for that power up. Good play by Catalyst staying on that portal. Good snipe by Ballstar, and Degrees of Freedom's out past 2. Blocks early in a good spot for Beast Mode, so Rollers of Gondor gets a quick return. I think that's now Beast Mode's 5th try on that boost. Eventually it's gonna work, and it'll be a cap, but no such luck yet. Beast with a good bomb there, gets sniped by Sumpal. X Factor has a clean boost to the other side of the map. This is a very dangerous situation for Degrees of Freedom unless Catalyst can get around. Oh, he does a good play by Catalyst. Fortunately, it's not enough. And Rollers of Gondor cuts the lead to just 2 caps now. Just over a minute left in this first half. Catalyst with a good boost up to keep Stumple or the X Factor away from that boost top. Bob 18 with some good plays. Catalyst needs to get closer. Just barely manages to stop that from being a cap. And now the Bob 18's actually past 3. Catalyst goes for the boost block, isn't able to get it. We'll see if he can at least grab the tag pro. He does. Rollers of Gondor is going to have a rolling bomb with the flag. It gets diffused. We'll see if Catalyst can pop a couple of people with this tag pro. It's able to keep beast mode alive at the very least. So just under 20 seconds left in this first half. We'll see if anyone can get a last second cap. Doesn't look like either team's really in a spot where they will. We'll see if beast mode can do anything here. He's gonna get past a few. Would have been a return for cap, but gets returned with a couple seconds left. The X Factor had a good game with 3 minutes 40 seconds to hold 2 caps. Other than that, it seemed like a pretty evenly matched game, Luke with 21 tags to lead all players. Beast mode with 22 pops to lead all players, but also had 3 minutes and 15 seconds of hold. So pretty evenly matched first half. Other than that chain of 3 or 4 caps from Degrees of Freedom, it was pretty much even the whole way through. We'll see if the Degrees of Freedom just playing 20 minutes against Boots and Hold in the map will actually help them, even though they got swept. So it's a 4-2 first half for Degrees of Freedom versus Rollers of Gondor. Alright, looks like we're switching to Origin for the second half of this game. Degrees of Freedom with a 4-2 lead over Rollers of Gondor so far. We'll see if home server advantage is able to pay off for Rollers of Gondor. Couple quick grabs from Degrees of Freedom. Let's Rollers of Gondor get out past 4. Already out past 3 again. Bob's gonna have to play some good OD and he just barely manages to get that return. So good play by the Bob to keep this a 1 cap lead for Degrees of Freedom. Bob's gonna have to avoid dying here for the next few seconds, just manages to. But Early on, Rollers of Gondor is looking very threatening. First round of pups comes through, ball start with a rolling, but Luke Moo and the X Factor both have tag pros to work with. Gonna be flag pro for Luke Moo, he's an out past 3 now. X Factor went for the bomb snipe, couldn't manage to get it. Some good jukes by Luke Moo, but it isn't enough. Still a dangerous situation for Degrees of Freedom. Catalyst with a good button. So just a couple minutes in, and it's just a one cap game now in the second half of this. Next round of power-ups coming. So you may or may not see from the macros. Don't know if it shows up on Aaron's screen or not, but it does on mine. Another tag pro for Rollers of Gondor. But it isn't able to amount to much. Both teams kind of just sticking on their side of the map. Good snipe by both teams actually to get returns. Beast isn't able to get that angle. Next round of power-ups coming up. Another tag pro sitting mid, and Rexer's able to grab it. Luke Moo grabs a rolling their side. And Ballstar picks up a tag pro as well, so both teams with the tag pro. Degrees of Freedom takes theirs on offense. Immediately kisses with the other. We'll see if Beast Mode's able to bomb himself out of trouble here. He just barely manages. Good bomb there, and he's out past 2. Looks like the blocks are going to be there, and that's a cap for Beast. Good anti by Rollers of Gondor, keeps a chain from happening like the first half. X Factor's out past a couple. Tries the micro juke on Bob, can't get it. More power-ups this time, 2 tag pros for Rollers of Gondor. Catalyst also picks up a tag pro. We'll see if he can help Beast Mode out here. He's able to kiss Luke Moo's tag pro, but still a lot of trouble here for Degrees of Freedom. This is almost certainly going to be a cap. If they could have gotten the gate, which they don't, this is now a return for cap for Degrees of Freedom. Sunpolo does a good job staying alive. As does Beast Mode on the other side of the map. Some really nice jukes by Sunpolo. I think that's the 3rd or 4th split in a row that I've seen out of him there. Eventually it does get returned by Catalyst and Ballstar. Next round of pups is up. If Catalyst can get this return, it's a cap. He's not able to. And Luke Moo picks up a juke juice. Catalyst trying to play anti here. Sunpolo has a tag pro to work with though, so. And a good snipe by Rexer. Gets X Factor out past a few. Good patience by Ballstar. Keeps him alive. Beast goes for the aggressive return. Almost gets it. And the miss snipe by Beast Mode. We'll see if that lets Rexer get a cap. Doesn't look like he will be able to. Miss snipe by Luke move. Probably cost him at least an opportunity, but Bob 18 finally gets the return there. Beast mode gets a rolling mid. Looks like Rollers of Gondor is going to pick up another tag pro in their base. And another tag pro on the blue base. So 2 tag pros and Ballstar just bombs into mid. And with the 2-1 score of the second half, it brings it back to a 1-cap game. Degrees of Freedom holding on to the lead with just under 3.5 minutes to play. Beast is going to need another good juke here. Isn't able to get it. Ballstar does get a return and has a boost to work with. He's going to be out past 3. So long as the blocks are there, they are. Ballstar gets a cap and it's back to a more comfortable 2-cap lead. But Luke moves already past 3. There's going to be a boost block here. There's not. Missed capping opportunity there for Rollers of Gondor. But it looks like they're going to get it here. They will. Beast mode does have a tag pro, and Catalyst is out past 3. We'll see if the blocks are there. Paul desperately tries to get around him, but just a second too late. So both teams trading caps here since the 3.5 minute mark. Beast mode does a good job getting out. Paul trying to hit the corner of the flag tile just in case they did get a return. They wasn't able to, but it's a good attempt nonetheless. Ballstar's going to be out past just with 1 or 2. Good job by Catalyst staying on the portal. Good anti by Rollers of Gondor, and looks like Luke will be out past a couple. Beast mode's going to grab. Probably a smart decision there. Trusted Bob maybe a little too much on that portal, but another attack pro for Rollers of Gondor. He's going to need to cut that angle. He's not able to, and if the Bob can get that diagonal, that's going to be another cap. It's going to be very close. But the Bob gets a cap, puts Degrees of Freedom up 4-3 this half. That's now a 3-cap lead for Degrees of Freedom. First half was 4-2, this one's 4-3, so 8-5 on aggregate right now. Beast mode gets around Luke move. He's gonna boat. I'm not sure if I'm a fan of the boat there. Really unnecessary at this time in the game, but it is what it is, and that's a 4-cap lead now for Degrees of Freedom. This is going to be a counter cap though, so maybe a little bit of karma there for Beast mode. After boating, gets her turn, gives up the cap. It's back down to a 3-cap deficit, but Rollers of Gondor is running out of time. Do have a tag pro to work with here. Looks like they're going to get out past 1, maybe 2 here. Catalyst doing a good job holding the flag. He's a defender, but he's throwing some good moves there. 6 seconds left, so it looks like this is all that we have other than the kept flag by Ballstar. So 4-2 in the first half and 5-4 in the second half in favor of Degrees of Freedom. Although statistically, I really think that Rollers of Gondor had a better game. They had a lot of power-ups. Just weren't able to make as much out of them as Degrees of Freedom was, so. First win of the night for Degrees of Freedom there. Brings their record up to 3-7-1 now. So, still holding on to some playoff hopes here as they move on to Emerald. Yeah, in that last game, Rulers of Gondor had 17 power-ups. 11 of them were tag pros, which was actually more than the 10 power-ups that Degrees of Freedom had on their own, so even with 11 tag pros, they still weren't able to get enough momentum. It was 11 tag pros, 2 rollings, and 4 juke juices for Rulers of Gondor. It was 3 tag pros, 5 rollings, and 2 juke juice for the Degrees of Freedom, so Degrees of Freedom did a very nice job working around those tag pros. I think it actually cost the Rulers of Gondor once where their tag pros actually killed enough people that they were able to get a return for cap just based on those alone. Alright, we move on to our last game of our doubleheader here. Major's team did not have much success for Degrees of Freedom last night. We'll see if Beast Mode's experience on Majors gives them the edge in this game. Same lineup as the previous half, with the Bob and Catalyst on defense. Bob gets 2 quick gates. Lucky to get the second one actually, but that's what Emerald's like. Good handoff by Rollers of Gondor. And if X Factor would have had that boost, I think that would have been a cap. Paul just making moves all over the place. Ballstar gets back in good position to get the returns, probably save a cap as well. First round of power-ups coming up, we'll see if Rollers of Gondor picks up another 11 tag pros this game. Not off to the best right there as Ballstar and Catalyst grab a tag and juke juice. Catalyst isn't able to do much with his juke though. So good work by Luke Moo and Rexer to get the return there. I'll start with a quick little move on Luke Moo. He's out past 2 now. Tries to wedge himself in between defenders, isn't able to. Bob 18 with a bit of a swipe there. And some good OD. Keeps this game tied at 0-0. Beast Mode's gonna try and come in for a cap, just can't get around that 45 tile quick enough. And next round of power-ups is coming up. X Factor is gonna end up grabbing that Juke Juice. With the Bob 18 grabbing the other. Rexer with a good key. Beast Mode just straight lines the Rollers of Gondor defense. Good gate there by, I think it was Sunpaw. And now Ballstar is going to need to stay alive here. Gets a lucky gate to stay alive, and it's now returned for cap for Degrees of Freedom. Fortunately, the return is not there. And Beast Mode, trapped in a corner, is going to die. Bob 18 needs to be careful here, really needs to be careful here. That was a nub step or something close to it. Could have been very dangerous for Degrees of Freedom. Another round of power-ups comes. Juke Juice bottom. Looks like Catalyst is going to eventually pick up the rolling and gets defused immediately though. Maybe a little indecision actually costs him there. Bob's gonna kiss. Beast Mode's not going to go for the kiss. And Ballstar gets a good return. Rexer's gonna be out bottom past a couple. Bob 18 tried to get a return there. Beast tried to get a split going in his own base. Eventually gets gated. Ballstar with a decent kiss, although this isn't a good situation here for Degrees of Freedom. I think that probably would have been a cap if Sunball could have been a little bit more decisive. X Factor is going to be out, and that's going to be a cap. So first cap of the game comes about 4 minutes in. Maybe a second one here, depending on what Ballstar can do. Isn't able to get there. So Sunpaw and X Factory both have a cap for Boats and Holds. Not Boats and Holds, I'm sorry, Rollers of Gondor. And it's now 2-0. Sunpaw again. Good OD that time. And not so good OD there. X Factor picks up another cap. It's now 3-2-0 for Rollers of Gondor. Degrees of Freedom picked up a rolling bottom, it was defused immediately. Meanwhile, that other power-up was also rolling. Rexer grabbed it. It wasn't defused immediately, but eventually caught up to him. We'll see if Degrees of Freedom can get something going here. Beast Mode tries to bomb his teammates into a return, isn't able to get it. And now Ballstar needs to do something here. No, Beast Mode's gonna turn around. Some indecision by Degrees of Freedom defense. Let's believe that was a Rexer. Get out. And X Factor's also going to chain in another cap as well. Degrees of Freedom does pick up a Juke Juice. Probably was not the best decision to grab. I don't know how that wasn't a cap, but this is going to be. So a very convincing lead here after a quiet first 4 or 5 minutes. Rollers of Gondor has picked up 6 caps in the last 3.5 or 2.5 minutes here. Polster with a good corner, he's going to be out past a few, but I believe it was Rexer that was there for the snipe. Beast Mode does have a Juke Juice to work with, he's out past a couple. Luke Moo's able to boost and get ahead. Bomb play, looks like it's going to work. Beast Mode picks up a cap. We'll see if Degrees of Freedom can start their own chain. Ballstar gets blocked by his own teammate trying to boost up top. Still is able to get past a couple. We'll see if the corner's there. It is not. It was almost another cap for Degrees of Freedom, but just not quite enough momentum to get around that corner. Ballstar tries to bomb grab. Doesn't work out in this favor though. We'll see if the handoff is there. It is. Ballstar is going to be out past a couple. Unfortunately, Bob was left alone to try and defend 2 people. While Luke Moo ended up picking up a Tag Pro. Gonna pick up a Juke Juice as well, so he's got a lawnmower in there. But it is returned for cap very briefly. 4 Degrees of Freedom. Ballstar ends up kissing. Luke Moo's Tag Pro runs out just as he grabs. And Rexer's going to be out past a few. We're going to need some good OD by Degrees of Freedom to keep this a 6-1 lead. Doesn't look like they're going to get it though. Oh, it just barely managed. And Ballstar with a good boost to keep it from being another pass 3 or pass 4 situation. Catalyst gets gated. We're going to need some good plays by Ballstar. Just too many people around. Beast Mode may be able to get the quick counter here. He's out past everyone. Bob 18 also picks up a Tag Pro, so this may be a chain cap here. Bob's got the Tag Pro lead, it will be. Beast does pick up another flag here. Rexer with a rolling though. It's quickly diffused, but Beast Mode will have to be careful here. Some balls are going to grab off the Catalyst anti. Just under 30 seconds left here. They are past. Degrees of Freedom is past 2 or 3 right now. We'll see if Catalyst has the blocks in him. Trying desperately to get him. I think he may have him here. Oh, just not able to hit the flag tile in time. So some good OD by Rollers of Gondor in the last seconds to give them a comfortable 7-3 lead going into the second half. X Factor looks like he was the X Factor in this half with 4 caps. Degrees of Freedom was led by Beast Mode's 23 grabs and 2 caps. Yeah, Degrees of Freedom did try and get some momentum back at towards the end. They were able to counter a couple times, but that train they gave up earlier just really killed their chances of making a full comeback. So they were able to get a few caps back, so it's a manageable lead, especially on a map like Emerald. And they will have their home server advantage now too. think if they were able to get that fourth cap at the end, it really would have made a difference for him, but just weren't able to make it. Catalyst tried as hard as he could to get those blocks in, but just wasn't able to manage. It looks like we're switching to the Holy See. Nope. Was hoping we were. So this is the last 10 minutes of a very long night for Degrees of Freedom here. Got swept by Boats and Holtz in their first game of Week 5 makeup game. Now trail the Rollers of Gondor after picking up a win on Scorpio. So 10 minutes left. We'll see what both teams are able to do. Beast Mode tries his immediately grab. Unfortunately, it looks like it's gonna hurt Degrees of Freedom. Oh, a good boost by Beast Mode. Saves the cap there. I didn't actually see him come from that direction, so very good play by him. Fortunately, lets up a grab immediately following it. This could be a cap for the Bob 18. So the seasoned minor novice league player gets his, I think, second cap of the night. So, second cap in his first game. He didn't play against Boats and Holtz, but is having a good night against the Rollers of Gondor, I think their team name is. I've said it a few times, but keep forgetting it. It's a weird name. I'm not that easy to remember. And this is probably going to be a cap here. I don't know how that just happened. But another Rollers of Gondor tag pro did the Degrees of Freedom in, so it's back to a 4 cap lead for Rollers of Gondor. Still plenty of time to go on this one. We've seen how quickly both teams are able to chain things together here, so Ballstar is going to get out past a couple. We'll see what he can do with these blocks. Doesn't look like much. Beast Mode will get a free grab. He really wants that pup. He's going to be able to get it. But he needs to be careful here. They do have a tag pro on Rollers of Gondor. Rexer with another tag pro. So it's almost a return for cap. I think they had a chance, but elected to be a little more conservative with it. Probably a smart idea. The Grace of Freedom will need to be careful here. Still electing not to play anti. Something I know that a lot of teams have been doing in recent weeks. Ballstar got a cap. Really didn't see how it happened. We'll see if they can chain it together here. I think they're going to be able to just make it. They are Beast Mode with a good position. Ballstar will need to stay alive though for a few seconds. And isn't able to, so a quick counter cap for Rollers of Gondor. I really don't know what just happened. The whole last minute has been a little chaotic, but that's what we're here for. X Factor with some really nice jukes on 3 of the Degrees of Freedom defenders. almost actually snipes his way into a cap. All-Star is almost certainly going to get returned here. At least he was able to tag one of the Rulers of Gondor defenders, so his partner is able to get out. We'll see if they're able to manage anything here. They've got the blocks. Not very good ones, but they have blocks. X-Factor smartly is able to grab off of it, picks up a rolling. Not sure he meant to do that, but a good defuse by Cat. He needs to stay alive for a second. X-Factor is just running circles around the Degrees of Freedom defense right now. We'll see if Degrees of Freedom is able to get reset. They might have a capping opportunity here, but Rexer with a smart boost back. We'll see if they're able to get a grab. Looks like they're going to hand off to Beast Mode. We'll see if the blocks are there. They are not. They were close to being there though. We'll see what Degrees of Freedom is able to do. Paul almost actually gets the snipe in. Some good OD by the Rulers of Gondor. Juju certainly helped them there. Beast Mode boosts into the flag. Maybe not needed, but it's worth a try. Good accidental block by Beast. He needs to be careful here. This is a return for Cap. It's not gonna happen though. So, with just over 4 minutes to play, Rulers of Gondor has a 3-cap lead. First half was 7-3. Catalyst almost gets lucky there and gets a cap, but isn't able to. So the first half was 7-3 in favor of Rulers of Gondor. Looks like this half is currently 3-2 Degrees of Freedom, so a, what is that, 9-6 advantage right now for Rulers of Gondor with 3.5 minutes remaining. We'll see if Beast Mode is able to put a move on. He's not. Some Paul with a good spawn in the anti. So Degrees of Freedom certainly had some capping opportunities, just hasn't been able to make the most out of them. Here's another one here. We'll see if Beast Mode's able to get around. He's not. And a good anti by Luke Mew keeps Ballstar from going anywhere as well. Next round of pups coming up. I think it's been pretty equal. I don't have the team stats thing that actually tells you, but haven't noticed it outrageously in favor of one team or another. Beast Mode's going to be out past 3 here. This is probably going to be a cap. It is. Nope, it's not. And this may be a counter cap actually, and it is. So a missed opportunity from Degrees of Freedom lets up a counter cap, and it's back to a 4-cap lead for Rulers of Gondor. Even though it was a missed opportunity for Degrees of Freedom, Rulers of Gondor did play some excellent offensive defense there. Stayed patient and was able to get a good grab off of return and got ahead past 4. Ballstar with some slippery moves, but gets sniped. Luke Mew does a good job winning that power up. And they're gonna have a tag pro in base for Rulers of Gondor. And that's going to be, looks like it's gonna be another cap. Beast Mode grabs, he's gonna need to be patient here. Unfortunately, some miscommunication from the Degrees of Freedom's chasers there leads to another cap. So 4-3 now for Rulers of Gondor. It's 11-6 on aggregate now. Lucky boost, but whatever works for Rulers of Gondor. Bob is going to be out, and instead of juking around, goes straight into the one offensive defense player left. Does get a return here. I think that's going to make up for it. It should be another cap. Just a few seconds later than I thought. Luke Me does pick up a tag pro, and it's back to a 4-cap game. But probably not for long. Here's some good play by Beast Mode, even if it was not nearly intentional. And Ballstar is gonna need some help. Gets it. And if Bob can make a move, he's gonna be out past 3. Good boost by Rexer to get the return. 6 seconds left here, so it looks like the final score will be a 11-7 victory for Rulers of Gondor. So we split this game, brings Rulers of Gondor up to a 6-6 record. Degrees of Freedom falls to 3-8-1. So, after a very long night of Tech Pro, Degrees of Freedom Miners only able to come up with a win and 3 losses. So, still some work to go for Degrees of Freedom Miners. I don't know if that eliminates them from playoffs because I haven't looked at standings in a couple weeks. But they will need some help next week, I believe, if they're going to make playoffs.